I need a haircut so bad. Jeez Louise.
Let the kids do it. I saw my
That sounds like a great idea, Erin.
my friend posted a picture on Facebook saying a deal is a deal. I cut yours, you cut mine. And she let her two little twins, I think they're 5 or 6, cut her hair. She's like, it didn't turn out too bad. And then she shows the back and there's like this huge chunk taken out of the middle. And she's like, whatever. Nobody sees the back anyway. So
Just only everybody behind you.
you could tell them you get 5 snips each.
Oh,
And you can't take more than, like, you could set a limit. So you could set some boundaries.
That's the thing, is the boundaries are going to be pushed severely, and a lot can happen in 10 snips. 10 snips, I can look. I'll look like Friar Tuck. All in the middle. Just. Hello, and welcome to Middleish, a podcast about moderation in all things. I am Michael Gray.
And I am Erin Green.
How are you, Erin Green?
I'm doing great, but I'm also a little bit in a sort of a Twilight Zone time warp because I just got back from vacation. Yeah, late last night. So not only was it well past my bedtime by the time I hit the pillow, but I'm also just a little bit out of sorts.
Well, and
I'm good.
You were in a place where you didn't have a lot of like social media connection. You were kind of like, what day is it? You were telling me earlier, which is always nice to just get removed.
Yes. I will say that because pictures are my jam. I love taking pictures and actually putting together Instagram stories. But other than that, social media, it was like, non-existent. Not a lot of email checking, not a lot of paying attention to the calendar or what day it is. Or, I mean, the time frame of the day was, is it time to wake up? Is it time to eat? When is the ride going to start and end? And when is the time to go to bed? That was about the time frame. It was wonderful.
That's a good amount of things to have to worry about. That's not very many. That's nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I mean, with camping, it's kind of like that. As soon as the light comes up, it sort of naturally wakes you up. And once the light goes away, you sort of naturally get tired, even if you have little, like we would sit up and play cribbage or, just be around camp with our little lanterns and stuff. But once the sun went down, there's just this, and it starts cooling off. There's just this natural feel of like, it's time to get in the sleeping bag and it's time to go to bed. So.
Well, and there's no like distractions to like keep you up. It's not like you have your TV or your laptop there to like keep you up. And it's kind of like, right, here we go.
And a bunch of bright lights in your house too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you got to get away. That's nice.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a great time. Lots of bike riding. Lots and lots.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you have a good week?
Yeah. Trying to think. This weekend we went up to Kathleen's dad's and stepmom's to celebrate Sophie's 4th birthday. So we went up there with them and swam and tromped around. They've got like some big wooded area behind them. And so we kind of tromped around in there and had pizza and cake and swam and stuff. So that was fun.
Awesome.
Sunday was kind of just a laid back day, which was nice, playing with the puppies and lazing around. We did some Halloween costume shopping for the girls. Grabbed lunch from a burrito place, and it was a nice weekend.
I'm curious what your Halloween plans are, because this was something Matt and I were talking about on the way down. I mean, we don't have kids, but we live in a neighborhood with a lot of kids. And so we were kind of talking about what's the guidance with COVID and trick-or-treating and stuff. I mean, I tend to think that trick-or-treating is a pretty low risk activity if you do it properly, because it's outside and you can stay distanced. And even if you approach the door of a house, you don't have to be in close contact. But we were reading all these different suggestions of things to do for Halloween. So
we really haven't talked much about it yet. So, I mean, I would be okay as long as we weren't like, walking through crowds of people on the sidewalk, going around and stuff. But we really haven't talked about it. Yeah, it's kind of like the first like big thing where it's like, what do we do? How are we going to do this? So we want to be wise, and safe, of course. But there is from what I understand, it seems like there's a lot to suggest that outside is a lot safer. You're not enclosed. And then also, like people handing candy and stuff that things don't seem to transmit very well on surfaces.
Yeah.
So, but we really haven't discussed it. So I will keep posted. But yeah.
But you got
I don't have an answer.
Got the costumes?
We got the costumes. We're doing something, and it's maybe at least we get together with a few friends and have the kids do, something outside, or I don't know, something. Yeah.
Maybe we should have a Halloween themed episode that will be
Where we dress up,
released that week. Maybe dress up more than just the ninja style that we have going on today.
Right. We color coordinated.
All black shirts. Yeah.
Yes. I texted Erin earlier. I was like, what color shirt are you wearing today? She said black. And I was like, okay, good. I'll match you.
That's a lie, you guys. Michael's trying to be cool.
I was trying to be cool. Trying so hard.
But we could also talk about, a lot of parents ask about Halloween candy and how to approach that whole thing. So maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we could also talk about like how do you handle like having big bags of candy around in your house for 2 weeks because you bought it at a time, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. And what you can possibly do with some of that leftover candy.
I have to plug in my computer real quick because battery's dying. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Are you going to practice those editing skills, Michael? Snip this part out?
All right.
You going to practice your editing and cut that out?
Oh, we'll just leave it. Yeah, okay. See, my light was attached to it. So.
Yeah, but our listeners are going to be like, "What the heck is going on?"
This is the nitty gritty behind the scenes. This is what people want to see. If we had like a membership, this is the stuff that would be in there for the extras, the VIP stuff right here. Yeah, Michael plugging in his laptop.
We would not make any money. Your extras.
You mean like we are now?
Yeah, your extras are the bloopers. You get to see the blooper reel. Congratulations.
Yeah, there we go. Lights back on. All right.
All right. Do you guys carve pumpkins for Halloween too?
We have in the past. I forgot as a kid, or I probably never realized as a kid, what a pain in the ass that is.
That's because your parents did the whole cleanup and everything.
It is not fun. I do not enjoy it at all as a parent.
Oh, you don't?
No.
What do you not like about it?
It's just a mess. And it's just like an hour of work to get all that stuff scooped out. And I just don't care for it.
Do you have the right tools?
Probably not.
They make little, okay, so let me help you out here.
All right.
You lay a whole shitload of newspaper or get those like really flimsy plastic tablecloths and just cover the floor with them in your kitchen or wherever and just go to town there. Don't do it. Don't try and do it on the dining room table and all that. Just get on the floor and do it. And they make the little pumpkin carving kits that they look chintzy because they're like these little plastic like scoopers and little swords that you carve things out. I am telling you, those things are a game changer.
Really? All right.
They truly are. And Matt bought one, I don't know, several years ago. And I kind of made fun of him because I was like, that shit's going to break. Like as soon as you try and stab it in the pumpkin, you're done. But once you cut the hole in the top of the pumpkin with a real knife, and then you use those little swords to like cut everything else and carve everything, they're actually, you might have some more fun with it. Try it.
Yeah, try that. Because in the past, we've always it's like, our plastic like spoon, utensil spoon or a big soup spoon carving. It's just, I hate it.
Give it a try. But I mean, also, if you hate pumpkins, if you hate pumpkin carving, there's all kinds of pumpkin decorating that people do.
Don't make me a pumpkinist. Don't make me a pumpkinist. I never said I hate pumpkins. I have a lot of love for the pumpkin community. Don't you get me in trouble. Don't you cancel me, Erin.
We don't discriminate any gourds or vegetables
I love all
whatsoever on this
gourds.
podcast.
I have many friends who are gourds. Okay. Don't you get me in trouble.
Anyway, I mean, if you want to, if you really wanted to get brave with pumpkin decorating, you could get out the glitter, which they call glitter the herpes of the craft world.
I hate glitter as well.
Once it's there, it is not going away.
You know why I hate glitter? Because when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, something like that, I got one little piece of glitter in my eye and we could not get it out.
Oh
I
no.
wound up having to go to the emergency room because it was like messing my eye up so bad and
Oh
they
no.
couldn't get it out. And so I have this vivid memory of doctor or nurse, whoever, like holding my eye open with their rubber glove, just digging in my eye all over and me just being like, ah.
Oh my
Yeah. And
gosh.
when I left, my
Yeah.
eye was all swollen and red and puffy. So like, yeah. So now when the
Did
girls like have glitter on their face, I'm like, stop, stop, stop. Come here, come here. Not going anywhere until I get that glitter off your face. We're not going to the ER for this.
Did that glitter get removed, or is that what I see, that little glint in your eye sometimes when we're talking?
That's just my
It's still there.
personality.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds pretty traumatic. So
It
I
was.
don't imagine glitter will make it into your household unless it's
No, not a
cured in a
fan. It's all over in our house. It's on there. I mean, like you can buy like dresses that are just covered in glitter, and the girls
I
like
know,
walk across the house, and it's just everywhere now.
fairy dust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I hope that your girls have a good Halloween, even with the bah humbug that they have to deal with. Oh, wait, that's Christmas. Well, good luck. Good luck. I
Thanks.
encourage you to
I
get one of those little
appreciate it.
pumpkin carving kits.
I will look into it.
So, moving on from pumpkin carving, we are talking
Mhm.
about food, but not
Oh, do we have a
pumpkin
topic today?
specifically. We do have a
We
topic.
just keep
Yeah.
doing this.
We could just BS, but I think our listeners would get tired of it. But
Probably.
today's topic, I get asked a lot what kinds of meals I make, what recipes do I use, and
Mhm.
what's my approach to meals, and what do I eat? People are kind of fascinated with what a dietitian eats, what an athlete eats, and make these assumptions about maybe how I approach cooking and food and recipes. And so I thought it might be fun to just talk about a little bit about our favorite meals and maybe approaches to how we cook things or put things together for our households, our families, and
Yeah.
maybe even some of your favorites growing up. And
Just talk about
maybe,
food. I love to
yeah,
talk about food.
I
It's one of
mean,
my favorite subjects to talk about. Yeah.
me
Right after
too.
my family, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah. They're,
yeah.
yeah. Right after my wife and kids. I love talking about them. And then, behind that's
But then
food.
food kind of gets there. Yeah.
So yeah. So what are some of your, let's just start growing up. What were your, like some of the things you loved growing up as a kid?
Well, the first thing that popped in my head is my mom used to make this amazing fried chicken on Sundays. Not every Sunday, but most Sundays growing up, it was kind of fried chicken day. And it's funny because we didn't grow up in like a southern household or anything. It was just my mom was a pretty simple cook.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we got older and life got more hectic, she really relied on like convenience kinds of meals, hamburger
Mm-hmm.
helper, those kinds of things.
Sure.
Um, so when she would make things from scratch that were really good, it just stood out in my mind. And fried chicken she makes excellent gravy with it. And I mean, the
Mm,
whole meal was just amazing. And
nice.
I mean, to this day, I'll have fried chicken. And I had some over in Louisville a couple years ago, and that was
Mm-hmm.
exceptional. But otherwise, I just don't touch it because nothing really
Yeah.
compares to my mom's fried
It
chicken. But
compares to mom's. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Nice.
we had um, some other good family meals. I mean, holidays and my grandmother's stuffing that she would make. That was something we would rave about. All three of
Mm-hmm.
us kids, me and my brothers, were just like, "Is Grandma making stuffing?" That was our big thing.
Nice.
Um, Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are some of the big ones I remember.
Mm-hmm.
How about
For
you?
me, two that stand out is my mom's French toast.
Ooh.
I always love. She uses French bread and cuts like the pieces real thick, like
Mm-hmm.
probably over an inch thick, And it's just kind of standard, the batter she dips it in and stuff. But the French bread is a real nice treat. And I think there's probably just a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in it for me, It's just like, I just grew up with this taste.
Mm-hmm.
And on our birthdays, we always got whatever breakfast we wanted. And that was always my choice was her French toast because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then her tacos, the tacos that she makes. In fact, anytime they visit, I always ask her, will you make your tacos while you're here so I
Oh,
can have
that's
them?
great.
And I don't know why what's so special about them. They're pretty standard. I think one of the things she does is she take like the flour shells and like fries them real quick in oil. So they're like chewy and
Oh.
greasy
Oh,
and hot.
yeah.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah.
That does
Yeah.
sound good.
They're real
It
good.
almost sounds like a
Yep.
chimichanga, but she probably doesn't fill it first. She
Well, and
just
it doesn't
cooks
get
the veggies.
crispy. You don't crispy. It's just enough
Mm.
to get it kind of hot and greasy.
Huh.
Yeah, it's real good.
Very nice.
Hmm.
Now I'm having another memory that my mom makes the best scrambled eggs.
Really.
And I tried, I mean, when I got into high school, junior high, whatever, and I started cooking, I tried so hard to replicate them and I could not make them taste the same. And they're very simple. Like
Hmm.
I'd watch her make them. She'd coach me. I couldn't do it. And one day I think I had come home from college and I asked her to make scrambled eggs for me because they taste so good. And I I went into the kitchen when she was making them and she has these pans that they're not nonstick pans. They're like I don't know, the stainless steel or like the
Hmm.
copper bottom kind of pans.
Okay.
And I saw her scooping, I swear to God, like 2 full tablespoons of margarine or butter or whatever, shoot, margarine probably. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's why they taste so
That's
good
how those eggs
because
get good.
you start with almost a quarter cup of fat in the pan.
Mom knows what's
But
up.
yeah, so it was probably my own demise that I couldn't make them properly because I wasn't putting the right amount of good stuff in them.
Right.
So, hmm
Nice. Nice. I love good scrambled eggs. That's one of my favorite breakfasts is like just good scrambled eggs with like spinach and tomato and some bacon or sausage in there. And then even like some sliced up potatoes or like hash browns just all mixed together. That is like
yeah.
the best way to
And
start a day.
zucchini, I'll put like, especially this time of year when I have an abundance of zucchini, I'll just chop up like half a
Never tried that.
zucchini and throw them in there.
Yeah.
And if you put it in early in the pan and let it kind of get a little golden brown, it
Hmm.
just imparts this really nice flavor and it doesn't make it soggy. Zucchini is a high
Hmm.
water content kind of veggie.
Hmm.
Um, and speaking of eggs, that's one of my favorite dinner go-tos, especially for like a quick dinner, when
Hmm.
people protein options tend to be a little challenging for people if they haven't gone to the grocery store
Right.
or they need something quick. It's not quick to marinate chicken and put it on the
Right.
grill and do all this other stuff. And so eggs are a really nice go-to, and as you pointed out, you can put veggies in them and they
Hmm.
just are really versatile. I'll make a frittata, which
Hmm.
is pretty easy to do too.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of eggs. So if you have like a
Hmm.
dozen eggs to use up, go ahead and make a frittata and you can cook the veggies ahead of time and then just mix
Yeah.
them in with the frittata and super easy
Yeah.
to make.
I do. Well, we haven't done it for a while, but something similar with it's kind of like a frittata, but we'll do it like egg cups, like in a muffin
Oh
tin,
yeah. Yeah.
So exact same concept. But I love those because they keep well for a few days, and they're quick and easy, great protein content. You can pack them with veggies,
Hmm.
they taste good 2 or 3 days later still. Yeah, I love them. And
Yeah.
eggs are such a great option because like you said, they're crazy cheap. A dozen eggs is like, the $1.30 or something, you know what I mean? And I mean, you have 3 eggs, that's a lot of food,
Yeah. It's very
and
filling, great protein.
you can so quick. Yeah, and you can have dinner of like eggs with some chopped up veggies and an apple or something and have a
Hmm.
fantastic dinner in 5 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
easy, easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And those little egg muffin cups, the only thing I've heard people um, complain about or not like is when you keep them over, they kind of get a little bit of a rubbery texture. They don't reheat well. So
Mm.
if you if you want to eat them cold, it's usually fine. But if you want to try and reheat them, they might get a little rubbery. And my solution to that is sprinkle some cheese on top,
Yep.
or serve them with something like salsa, that
Salsa.
will
Yep.
kind of help,
Yep. Yeah.
with the texture. So,
Yep. Yeah. I like them
yeah,
because they're
that's a good one
portable
too.
too. They're like
Yep.
just grab and go.
Really good
Yeah.
snack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one too.
Got a gnat in here.
My
Sorry.
standard breakfast is not a cooked breakfast though. My go-to probably 90% of the time is berries, and if it's winter time, they might be frozen berries or some other kind
Mm-hmm.
of fruit that I can find, but usually berries with just plain Greek yogurt and granola,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple almonds on there. So
Mm-hmm.
I make my own granola.
Oh,
There's a
nice.
great recipe by Food 52, and it makes a huge batch of granola. Um, I think if for those who are listening and interested in the recipe, it's if you um, Google search Food 52 maple granola, something like that. So it has maple syrup and brown sugar. So I mean, standard granola recipe, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very versatile and you can put a lot of different stuff in it. And I don't know why that just hits the spot. That tangy yogurt. Um, a really great protein load too, which is something
Mm-hmm.
I really encourage people to get in the morning, because if you think of breakfasts being, you know, toast or pancakes or, even oatmeal, it might be kind of low on the protein spectrum if you're not
Mm-hmm.
getting some strong protein source in there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my go-to. Yeah.
Well, I think too, there's something, I mean, having protein, because you think of standard, like, quick and easy breakfast fare, you're looking like at, frozen waffles or cereal or toast or, something like that, that's just really
A
quick.
muffin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, we've talked about this before, but that stuff, it hits and metabolizes quick. So it's like you got the energy and then you don't got the energy, where you have
Mhm.
something like protein along with it. One, it kind of slows down digestion and metabolism, or how quickly that's metabolized, but it just sticks with you for a
Mhm.
bit longer, so you have kind of that fullness, satisfaction going on for longer. And then also, I can't remember how long ago this was. I remember reading something about, it was in particular with kids who have protein with breakfast, their performance in school as far as attention and retention of information and that kind of stuff, is a lot higher when they have some protein content to their breakfast. So I'm really big on, even if we do cereal sometimes, but for me it's like, but we're going to have an egg or something with it. You're going to have some kind of
Good.
protein along with it, and some fruit, just to kind of help balance that out. But we always tend to prioritize protein in the morning.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I'm a big like protein at breakfast advocate is our bodies can essentially use about 30 grams of protein at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the way some people distribute their protein in the day, they might have a really light protein breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some protein at lunch, and then they'll usually have some big protein dinner. And you're doing your body a disservice from a, you know, protein synthesis standpoint, a muscle retention and building standpoint, and as you pointed out, the satisfaction
Mm-hmm.
and holding you a little bit longer. And if you distribute that protein a little more evenly in doses, 20 to 30 grams,
Yeah.
um, that's a really good approach. But
Mm-hmm.
take a look at your breakfast and see if you're hitting that mark. And most people are not. Like, if even with a standard, you know, oatmeal or something, if you're putting nuts and seeds in it, it still might be a little bit short. So just pay attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of breakfast, all right. So build your like ideal, not worrying about like quality nutrition, just like it's your birthday, you get whatever you want. Build your perfect breakfast.
Oh, well, on my birthday, I had about as perfect of a breakfast as it gets. I mean, there are a lot of breakfast foods depending on if I'm wanting sweet or savory that I'll
Mm-hmm.
go for.
You can do both.
Oh man, I do
Go
love a
off the
really good
off the
waffle.
tracks with this.
My my great aunt has a waffle recipe that has buttermilk and melted butter in the
Mm-hmm.
recipe, and the waffle is just this like amazing um, product that's like crispy on the outside. Anyway, that's really good. But I will say that very few things top Matt Green's buttermilk pancakes.
Nice.
And this is shocking because I was not a big I'm not like a pancake connoisseur.
Me
Like
either.
some people get a huge kick out of pancakes and they just love them, and I'm kind of like, you know,
Yep.
but I grew up with like the crusties or the
Hmm.
Bisquick pancakes, and so
Just add
when
water.
hmm so early in our relationship, Matt made me his buttermilk pancakes. And I was kind of like, okay, this guy's trying to impress me with pancakes. Like, try again, buddy. It's not gonna happen. And I was shocked. I was like, okay, these are pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
And I mean, that became our thing. Like, whenever we would have buttermilk or whenever, on a weekend when we had more time to do this, we'd make
Hmm.
buttermilk pancakes. And you don't mess with the recipe. Like, don't mess it up with whole wheat flour or with trying to use less of this or more of
Yeah.
that, or trying to skip the separating the egg whites and the yolks.
Hmm.
Don't mess with it. Just make it as it's supposed to be made. And they're fantastic. And I make them into a whole like huge meal with peanut butter,
Mm.
and I'll put yogurt on them, and I'll put berries, and I'll put a bunch of maple syrup. I mean, I do the thing. It's a
Yeah.
big meal and it's delicious.
That sounds
And
delicious.
if we have bacon with it, that satisfies that sweet,
Hmm.
savory, salty kind of combination.
Hmm.
Um, that's probably as good as it gets for me.
Yeah.
And knowing that I have access to that almost whenever I want it versus like dreaming up this amazing, like, French, whatever
Right.
breakfast experience that I could only have if I traveled the world or something. No, this
Yeah.
is something that I can have on any given Sunday, really. So,
Nice. That sounds
how
pretty
about
dang
you?
good. Oh, let's see. I'm gonna have a biscuit with gravy, maybe two.
I was going to say a biscuit with
Yeah,
gravy.
probably two. And then I'm gonna have some scrambled eggs with like spinach and tomato, onion in there, some cheese,
Mhm.
two or three slices of some nice thick bacon, right?
Nice.
And then probably a big glass of orange juice and a hot cup of coffee.
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I really like things like eggs Benedict a lot. Like
Mm.
that could easily go on there. Hash browns could go on there, but yeah,
But then you start getting enough of those different foods and you can only enjoy one bite of each before
right,
you're going to blow.
right, right.
So,
Yeah, two biscuits and gravy, kind of a little scramble with some eggs, a few pieces of bacon, and some OJ and
I can
coffee.
see
Yeah,
you staring off into the distance like there's a mirage in the
I
desert. Like
may be fantasizing a little bit.
this is a vivid vision that
I was
Michael is
experiencing
having,
it.
everybody. Yeah.
Taking some of that gravy and putting it
I
on
think you're
my
drooling
eggs and
drooling
dipping
on your
my
mic a
bacon
little
in it.
bit. Swallow,
A little
swallow.
bit. But
So
yeah,
what are some of your go-to meals? I mean, maybe dinner is the easiest one to start with because sometimes we already talked breakfast, and then
mhm,
sometimes lunch is kind of a, hit and miss. We can
mhm,
talk about that in a second. But what
mhm.
are like maybe top 5 in your rotation for dinners?
Um, right now, let's see. We're really digging like just some simple chicken wraps.
Oh,
Just like baking some chicken, chopping that up with spinach and lettuce and tomatoes, and sometimes there's black beans or corn or shredded carrots or a little cheese on top, kind of whatever.
okay.
Wrapped
It's
up in a
all about
tortilla.
the sauce when you make a wrap. Do you put dressing or sauce or spread
So
or anything on it?
I like ranch, or I like
Mhm.
salsa um, on it. I like ranch sometimes. I'm kind of hit and miss with ranch. Um, Last time we did them, we did a little honey mustard, and that was
Mm.
really good. That was really
Mhm.
good. So that's what Kat and the girls prefer is honey mustard, and I'll do that or salsa typically.
Have you
Sometimes
tried
ranch.
salsa ranch?
I have, and that's pretty dang good too.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah,
of our
a little
favorite salad
combo.
dressings.
Mm-hmm. Mix
Salsa
them up.
ranch. Bolt House Farms makes a good one, and I think Lighthouse makes another good one.
Okay.
Opa, I think, has one. So all of those, they're in the refrigerated, like next to the produce. So
Oh, they
they're
come
like,
mixed together.
Yeah, some of them are like yogurt
Oh,
dressings.
I just mix them
Um,
myself, but I like this
you could do
idea.
that too, easily.
Okay.
But the salsa ranch dressings, there's something different about them. It's not the
Sure. I
same as
bet there
just
is.
mixing a standard ranch
I bet there
with a
is. Yeah.
salsa. But yeah, try
Interesting.
that.
I'm gonna have to try that. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know that was a thing that you could
Yeah.
buy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we like that. Let's see. What else are we? We're still into that butter chicken. Like we probably have that every every 2 or 3 weeks. We have it.
Really?
Yeah. Just because everybody loves it, you know.
Maybe you have to share that recipe with me.
I might. Yeah. It's super good. It smells so good when you're making it. Oh man, it's just like the whole house. Like Lila will come in from outside. She's like, "Are you making that stuff again? Like it smells so good in here."
That
It's like
stuff.
it's like the best Scentsy ever.
Well, the spices that you get with ethnic food is they're
hmm
just so aromatic and so
hmm
unique. And I swear you can put like any combination together in
hmm
traditional Indian spices, traditional Thai spices, traditional, like any of that stuff. And they just meld together so well.
Yeah,
So
so good. I mean, you got
yeah, I
the
love it.
onion and garlic, and then cumin and
Yeah.
coriander. Oh, jeez, it's just yeah, it's so good. Curry. Yeah.
Yum.
So let's see what else we've been doing lately. We haven't done this for a bit, but it's falling out of rotation for some reason. Is I call it bruschetta chicken. It's like chicken tenders baked with like basil, and we kind of do like a bruschetta kind of thing, like oil and vinegar, tomato, all chopped up, and then like a little bit of mozzarella cheese on top. That's
Ooh.
really good. We like that. We've been big into Brussels sprouts. Well, I guess it hasn't. We haven't done those for a little bit,
Hmm.
but Lila and I like Brussels sprouts. Kathleen will eat them.
They're kind of a polarizing
You will
vegetable.
tolerate them. Yep.
Yeah.
We do tacos on a pretty regular basis, of some sort.
Hmm.
Um, we like big salads, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I've been doing one lately more for lunch. It's like the chopped up lettuce and let's see, carrots and tomato and chicken and strawberries, some sunflower seeds, and then like a citrusy vinaigrette kind of thing. That's
Hmm.
delicious. And
Sounds good.
so good that even Lila, like, she'll ask for it for lunch like 2 or 3 times a week. She's like, "Can I have that salad?" Which, I mean, for a kid to like
Yeah,
salad
I
is
know.
kind of
You're like, sweet.
right. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, those are some of our more regulars. I mean, we'll do things like, we kind of fluctuate. We kind of get into stuff for a little bit. Like, we'll do like meatballs for, kind of more
Hmm.
frequently, and then kind of back out, or like a meatloaf or something.
Hmm.
Um, let's see what else. Um, we do like stir fry a lot, like chicken
Oh,
and a lot
yeah.
of veggies, and either like the yakisoba noodles or rice.
Hmm.
Everybody likes that a whole lot. But yeah, those are kind of some of our
Those are good
standards.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, good variety
yeah. How
in
about
there.
you?
Well, ours will vary from season to season. So right now we're just at the end of like the grilling season.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our favorites when it's grilling time is this shrimp recipe that Matt made. It's like a very simple marinade that has like soy sauce, lime juice, granulated garlic, some olive oil, and I think some kind of sweetener to kind of balance out that acid. So
Mm-hmm.
um, a honey or something. And I think there's a little cayenne pepper in there too, so a little spice. And just mix that in a bowl. And then we use frozen shrimp that are in the shell
Mm-hmm.
and marinate. They're actually very quick to thaw, so you can just put them in like a strainer and run water over them until they thaw. It maybe takes like 8 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Marinate them in the sauce, and then just throw them directly on the grill grates. And we'll eat that with salad or on top of pasta or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. That's a really good one, and that's one of our favorites. And it's super easy to make. I mean, Matt'll just take over and make it start to finish, and dinner's
Yeah,
on him, so that's nice.
nice.
One of our regular rotations is just a very simple roasted salmon fillet with some kind of veggie. So we might grill zucchini if we have like zucchini
Mm-hmm.
in the garden that needs to be used. We might make like a salad kit. I don't know if you've seen those in the store, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of like
I love
creating my
those.
own salads. But those kits are rad for just like throw them in a bowl and they actually taste really
They're
good. And
really good.
I
They're
think they
quick
stay
and
really
easy.
fresh.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I love
And
them.
I might even bulk mine up a little bit with a little extra greens. Sometimes I think the salad dressing is a little too much for the amount that's in the
Mm-hmm.
bag, and so I might add like some chopped cabbage or spinach or something. um, so that's pretty common. We will roast the salmon, and I am picky about how my salmon is cooked in terms of I don't want it overly done.
Mm-hmm.
So I will check it very regularly, and I just know when you got
Yeah.
to watch your salmon, you guys. If you're cooking
Mm-hmm.
it in the oven, don't just go on time. You know, we just squeeze some lemon on it and throw some herbs and
Mm-hmm.
seasonings and pop it in the oven on 400 or 425 depending on the thickness of the fillet. And
Nice.
that's like we eat that once a week easily, and then it provides leftovers so I can use the salmon for salads
Mm-hmm.
and wraps and different things later in the week.
Yum. Yum.
Um, we make tacos a fair amount, and when I make tacos, I'll vary my protein sources. So we might use ground beef, we might use ground turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I usually will bulk up the filling with black beans and chopped peppers, or you could do tomatoes or something. So um, I'm always trying to get people to eat more legumes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
beans, lentils, let's get some of these in the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an easy way to add a legume serving to your day, just like kind of mixing it in with a filling.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a little bit different nutrition profile on that, and it just adds a different texture flavor going on. Um what else do we do? If I have more time, I'll make a big dish. So I have a couple dishes that are much more vegetable heavy. So they don't
Mm-hmm.
have any meat involved, but they still have really good protein because of cheese and just various components that are used. So one's an enchilada recipe that's uses red enchilada sauce, and I will use like whole. I think we might have talked about this in the veggie episode actually with the Swiss chard. But
Yeah,
like
we
you just
did.
chop up a ton of Swiss chard,
Yep.
and then the filling. I mean, this is obviously if people are interested in recipes, I can help you guys out with all of this
Mm-hmm.
and actually post the recipe. But it's essentially just a bunch of vegetable fillings, but a lot of Swiss chard, some black beans. Put it in the enchiladas with red sauce. Put some cheese on top and bake it. And that pan will, it's just Matt and I, so it'll last for lunches, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a really good recipe. But it's just, I mean, enchiladas are a little bit more involved, a little more, time
Yeah.
consuming. And then lasagna is another really good one.
Yep.
And you could make it with or without the meat filling, but the key is adding vegetables
A
in
lot of
there too.
veggies. Yeah.
hmm
I think
So
we talked
like,
about that in the veggie episode too. You
yeah,
can get a
so
ton in there.
you totally can. And
Yeah.
I'll put like an entire package of thawed frozen spinach that is squeezed, squeeze the moisture out and then mix it in with the ricotta filling that you
Mhm.
layer into the lasagna. And that's a really nice way to, again, add that veggie in there, but it doesn't change
I didn't
the
notice it.
experience of
Yep.
the lasagna. Um, so those are a couple of if I have more time to make dinners, those are a couple I'll do.
What's your favorite meat to put in lasagna?
Um, I like doing a mixture of like a turkey sausage and a ground beef or ground turkey. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
mixing it in there. I haven't I'm trying to think if I've tried others. I haven't tried anything else besides those.
I like ground beef and ground sausage
hmm
mix. That's a good
Yeah.
combo. I
Yeah.
did
That
see, have
sausage
you
adds a
ever,
nice flavor.
it really does. Yeah. Have you ever watched the Chef Show on Netflix? You watched that?
Oh, a chef's table?
No, the Chef Show, it's called.
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay. So they were doing, they made like this massive, ridiculous lasagna, but for the meat, they made meatballs, these big meatballs, and like cut them in half. I was like,
Oh, wow.
I'm going to have to try that because that seems
That sounds
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about Chef's Table. Chef's Table is a
No, that's
series on
great.
Netflix. Oh man, we love it. We
That's
love it
great.
because they do stories about the chefs and they're
Hmm.
human stories and they're just and the cinematography is fantastic and yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
One other thing on meat sources is we will if we're kind of having a busy week and we need some quick options and something versatile, we'll just go buy a rotisserie chicken and
Hmm.
just pull it all off the bone.
Yep.
And usually that same day we'll have chicken with whatever, a salad or we'll have a couple sides to go with it. But we'll save that chicken and either use it for lunches or
Hmm.
Matt will make a big pan of his version of enchiladas, which are green
Hmm.
enchiladas with a chicken filling that are very good too.
Hmm.
Um, or a risotto or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you do something like that and you have a quick and easy protein source that's done for you. I mean, with that chicken, you can put it in sandwiches, you can eat it by itself, right? You
Yeah.
can put it in salads, you can use it for soups, you can use it as like a taco filling, a burrito filling. I mean, it's just so versatile what you can
Hmm.
do with it, and I mean, they're not that expensive for how big they are,
Yeah.
but you're also paying for one, they taste really good and
Yeah.
it's crazy convenient, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. People tend to think that they need to like spend all this time
Mhm.
preparing things from scratch. And I mean, I'm realistic when I work with clients. Like, not everybody has the cooking skills or the know-how or the
Mhm.
time to invest in like roasting an entire chicken every week
Right?
or baking bread from scratch or whatever. So, just
Yeah.
do what you need to do to cut corners. And that
Mhm.
might mean salad kits, rotisserie
Mhm.
chickens, um, you know,
Yeah.
getting some more sort of convenience items to feed your family and or to
Mhm.
make things easy for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest surprises when I share with people the kinds of things that I eat regularly because my meals are not always extravagant or
Mhm.
made from scratch or super involved. They might be
Yeah.
very simple, like the salmon with veggies that I just described. That's like, I mean, dinner in 20 minutes or less kind of thing. And it's like
Mhm.
the easiest thing. And it's very satisfying for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is there's just kind of this assumption that people have like eating well has to be so challenging and so time consuming. It's like it really doesn't. Grab
Mm.
some frozen stuff, grab some, pre-bagged salads, just dump it in. I mean, if if your options are like no veggies and a pre-bagged salad, guess what is a
Right.
million times better? The pre-bagged salad,
Yeah.
like it just is. And so it doesn't have to be like so stinking challenging, you
Right.
know?
Or a rotisserie chicken from the store that you can
Yep.
have some versatility and incorporate into your week,
Mm-hmm.
or hitting fast food or getting these, one-off convenience meals or
Yep.
whatever. So there's
Right.
there's definitely a middle-ish ground with
There
all of this
really
stuff.
is. Yeah. Well, and then too, I think, and I may have said this before, we may have talked about it, but I think one of the best things for being busy is if you have a night that you have time to cook double. Plan on making twice
Yeah,
as much
definitely.
because then you have dinner for the next night and maybe a lunch or two, and it doesn't really take a whole lot of more time to cook twice as much of the same thing. It
Yeah.
takes very little more time, you know,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's I mean, we do that every week. We
Yeah.
plan, we plan 3 meals and we have double of everything. So we cook
Hmm.
Sunday, we have dinner for Monday, cook Tuesday, and then that seventh day, maybe we grab something somewhere, maybe we just do something, additional leftovers, we kind of wing it, or we plan again for, another 2 nights. But it just saves so much time, and it's so helpful for us to plan. Like, it's different now since things are so much more shut down. But when we're doing like, running club and soccer and swimming lessons and all that kind of stuff, to look at and go, okay, Monday's a pretty open night. Tuesday's a disaster. Well, let's cook double on Monday night, and then Tuesday we're
Yep.
just heating stuff up real quick, and dinner's
Yep.
ready in 5 minutes. You know.
Well, and I have a running joke that the term meal prep has taken over the term leftovers. I mean, when I was growing up, it was leftovers. That's what it
Right.
is. And
Exactly
now it's
right.
like meal prep, and you have to have these cute little containers, and everything has
Hmm.
to be fresh, and everything has to be like presentable, Pinterest worthy.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
just,
And
you
you have
know,
to cook like 8 cups of rice at once.
yeah.
14
So
chicken breasts.
I know. So speaking of cooking in bulk and like making big batches, one of my other go-tos is making some lentil dish.
Hmm.
So lentil curry, or I have an Ethiopian lentil dish that uses the spice berry, which is really delicious and unique. It's a
Would
different flavor.
would you say that it's very, very good?
It's very delicious. Yes.
Nice.
Good one. Bum, bum, dad joke.
I
So,
completely interrupted you for that.
good job.
Thank you.
You're on a roll, Michael. Drink your coffee. So
Down to the dregs.
making a big batch of something like lentils, and the wonderful thing about legumes, another wonderful thing, not just that they're super nutritious, they're very good for your gut microbiome, they're loaded with protein and carbs and fiber and all this other stuff. But they reheat really well. Like,
Hmm.
if I make a big batch of beans or lentils or something, they're one of those foods that we can just kind of like use for a side dish or a main dish all week
Hmm.
for lunches and leftovers for dinner and stuff. So that's another favorite, is a red lentil curry. Or I've cooked a big batch of lentils just knowing that I will be using them for lunches throughout the week. So
Hmm.
one of my favorite combinations is around this time when we have a lot of beets that are coming, into season, and I'm kind of looking for like new ways to incorporate them. I'll roast the beets in the oven and peel them, and then I'll just have like a bunch of roasted beets ready to go in the fridge. And I'll cook a batch of green lentils, throw a bay leaf in there, maybe throw some uh, herbs in with the cooking so they got a little flavor going on. But then I'll eat this like for a week straight, and I will not tire of it. Green lentils with some arugula, those
Hmm.
roasted beets, goat cheese, and pistachios. If you want a little bit of sauce, maybe a balsamic something or other, it is to die for. I don't,
Sounds
that
really good.
combination is just, and it's super satisfying for me. And I love the fact that I am getting a nice like veggie heavy meal. With
Hmm.
lentils have excellent protein.
Hmm.
Um, anyway, that's
Yeah,
one of my favorites too.
that sounds really good. I'm gonna have you send me that recipe because I
Yeah.
kind of want that now.
Well, you'll listen to this when you're editing the podcast, and then you'll have the recipe because I just described it to you.
Yeah, that sounds like too much work.
I'll send it to you, Michael. I'll send it. What
Don't make
about
sense. Jeez. Uh-oh.
so we've talked about breakfast, sort of lunch, because that's a lot of leftover stuff. And dinner. Is there anything else we need to talk about with favorite meals that you had on your agenda? I think I've kind of rattled off a whole bunch of my favorite ones. So,
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to say, just like as a general rule of thumb, just a few things that I think are um, like a few types of foods that are pretty easy um, to keep kind of on the lower calorie side and high veggie side, just in general. I think if you look at things like stir fries, egg
mhm.
scrambles, protein shakes, soups, stews, chilies, salads, um, those are in general really easy food ideas to just, you can add a lot of veggies to. You can make really high, veggie content in them, as well as some really good protein, and keeping them pretty on the lower calorie side without getting really heavy. So I like to just kind of steer clients towards those as a general rule of thumb, not all the time, but if you can add some more broth based soups and a chili to your week, like, hey, things are going to be looking better as far as your veggie content, and especially if someone is trying to lose weight, keeping calories down a little bit. But those are, I think, in general rule of thumb, just they're good. There's a lot you can do under each of those,
Yeah.
but kind of good, the overarching umbrella places to start from if you're
Yeah.
planning meals for the week.
And one of the things I'll add to, because you mentioned protein shakes, which are a very convenient and easy way to hit that protein mark that we kind of talked about, spreading throughout the day in doses. However, one of the downfalls I see of that is they don't have any fiber. They don't
Right.
have, the nutrition that they offer is
Mm-hmm.
either um, an enriched formula. So it might be enriched with vitamins and minerals and things, but it doesn't have the same value as you would get from eating the food.
Mm-hmm.
So some people will just like have a protein shake for lunch and that's it. And in some cases, that's appropriate. And we could talk about, maybe people who have had bariatric surgery or
Mm-hmm.
um, for whatever reason, that could be an appropriate meal replacement if it has enough calories, but very few people will be satisfied on just a protein shake.
Right.
So maybe use those strategically. So, for example, if it's around a workout or that your lunch is just going to be, you didn't have a protein source ready to put with your
Mm-hmm.
salad or your leftover, roasted veggies or whatever, or you have like a protein light sandwich or something and you need more protein. That's a really great place to use those. But I usually caution people against relying strictly on a protein shake for the meal itself.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think there is, and I didn't make this clear, but I think there is a difference between like a purchased protein shake or scooper and some water or whatever versus something which is more I was talking about where you're adding spinach and berries and
Oh yeah, like a
you know
smoothie with
yeah,
yeah.
more like a
Hmm.
smoothie shake. That's more what I was talking about. Some flax seeds and so you've got some veggies and you've
Hmm.
got fruit and you've got some healthy fat and there's some real substance to it. That's more what I was talking about was like a smoothie. Yeah.
I had a client recently that put garbanzo beans in her smoothie and she
Really?
said it was really good. And I was like,
Mm.
really? I mean, so this is just an example of how you can get creative with meals and food in general and I mean, I tell people all the time, it doesn't have to look like a meal to anybody but you.
Right.
We can talk about the components that are helpful for building a meal,
Mm-hmm.
and what those nutrients do for you with satisfaction and, you know, um, for your health.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like taste and composition and what kinds of things you want to get creative with, go for it. Like
Mm-hmm.
just start experimenting and see what works for you because you might be surprised
Mm-hmm.
that something tastes really good to you and you
Right.
never would have tried it because you thought it was like a crazy idea or somebody would think it's funny.
Right. Yeah, I had a client who always put mushrooms in her smoothies.
No way.
Yeah. She said you don't taste it. It adds like
Hmm.
just a really good texture, you know?
Raw mushrooms,
Yeah.
I'm
I've never
thinking.
tried
Yeah.
it, but
Huh.
yeah. So you can do all
Interesting.
kinds of crazy stuff.
You can throw anything in a blender, y'all.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
just
we talked about that before with that guy who
yes,
had
we
his jaw
did.
large shut. You can do hamburgers and french fries in a blender if you want.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So any other meal? Well, we didn't talk about dessert, and that can
That's
be part of a meal
true.
for sure, buddy.
Yeah. What's your favorite desserts?
Cheesecake.
Mm.
I will say I love a good like brownie or cookie or the baked
Mm-hmm.
goods. Um, Cheesecake is a treat. I never make it because I think it makes too much just for
Hmm.
Matt and I. Although I guess it freezes well, so maybe
Maybe
I
you just need to
could.
eat more.
Maybe I just need to eat it all
You just need three
before it goes
pieces a
bad.
day.
I
Yeah.
know.
Don't
Duh.
waste food,
Breakfast, lunch,
Erin.
and dinner. Yeah. It's high protein. Throw some
Hmm.
berries on it. It's a
Yeah.
meal. Yeah.
It
Why not?
is. Yeah. Got some good carbs with the graham cracker crust, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Sounds balanced. So cheesecake is probably one of my favorites.
Hmm.
I'm yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like the ice cream, the custardy kinds of. I do
Hmm.
like a tiramisu and that kind of stuff, but yeah, I really go more for like the baked goods. My mom is amazing. I sort of I wasn't very nice when I said like, oh, she's a simple cook, whatever. Her baking is like out of this world.
Really
It's so good. Yeah.
nice.
It's so
Nice.
good. Like her pies at holiday time and I remember like she would make like a big sheet cake or
Hmm.
whatever growing up or cookies and yeah, they're really good. So I look
Nice.
forward to her baking as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I like a good cheesecake too. It's that for me. That's hard to beat. I'm not big on
Mhm.
ice cream. I like cookies. Brownies are fine. Um, I do have a recipe for a chocolate chip cookie that you put potato chips in.
Ooh,
It is so good.
I bet
It is
it is.
so good because they add like that salty, but
Yeah,
there's a crunch, but it's light. It's not like something you got to work through.
a little
And
crispy kind of
they kind
thing.
of give it like a little like some substance, so they're a little bit they hold together and are a little bit chewier. Oh, they're so good,
For our
so good.
trip this weekend, I found a recipe for peanut butter M&M cookies that had pretzel bits in it. So you just crunch up a bunch of pretzels and put them in there that I'm imagining
Mm-hmm.
would have a similar
Mm-hmm.
effect.
That
But the
sounds
potato chips
delicious.
sound really good.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, that's a good recipe. It's super easy,
Nice.
but yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Cool. So we've made it from breakfast through dessert
Hmm.
with our favorite recipes.
Yeah.
We'd like to hear your favorite recipes. Let us know
Yeah,
what you
we
guys
would.
like to eat.
Yeah, whether it's veggie packed or whether it's frozen pizza or whatever.
Yeah,
Lay it
let us
on
know.
us. Let us know. Yeah,
Do you have a meeting in the mundane this week?
I do. And it was last night or 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, something like that. It was taking our dogs for a walk around our, little neighborhood area. Um, going with the girls, walking around and just walking through. We just live in this really cool neighborhood where it just, I mean, we're in a decent sized city right outside a massive city, you know, um, and so it's easy sometimes to feel like just everything's big here. But we kind of live in this neighborhood where it just feels small and quaint, and we see the same people a lot, and so we're just walking through the neighborhood, and the girls are kind of running up and back and taking turns trying to walk the dogs, and the dogs aren't good on a leash yet, so they're pulling and wandering, and just. But I'm just walking through my neighborhood, and I was very excited to move down here last year. We moved from Oregon, but I was also really nervous. Like, what's life going to be like? Am I going to like
Yeah.
it? I'm leaving a business, I've built for 11 years and starting something new. And just, there was a lot of anxiety and worries along with that. And I'm just walking through our neighborhood and I'm just going like, man, I'm so glad we moved, you know, like
Oh, that's nice.
I'm so happy with where life is right now as far as work and physically where we live and the home we're in, the neighborhood we're in, and how much we go on these walks fairly often after dinner in the evenings, and it's just always just so enjoyable. And it just really hit me just the other night. I was like, man, I'm so glad I'm where I am, and that's a good feeling to be happy about where you are. you know
Yeah,
that's
and
a
probably
lot.
yeah, and something we don't acknowledge
Hmm.
often enough.
Hmm.
Just being happy and content and appreciating
Yep.
what we have right in front of us.
Yep.
That's
I mean, are
good.
there things I would change? Yeah, probably 100 of them, if I could. But at the same time, like just to feel content, I think that's an undervalued feeling is being content.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
big deal.
Well, and I think people tend to look at contentment as um resolving to not strive for more
Or
or
settling. Yeah.
yeah, giving up or
Hmm.
something like that or not being a go-getter or high achiever, and I don't think that's it at all. I think it's
Right.
more about appreciating where you are now and
Hmm.
looking at what you have now and kind of practicing some gratitude and some being present and all the
Hmm.
things that we've talked about
Hmm.
before. um I think it's important. Like, why would you strive and set goals and work so dang hard for things and then not appreciate them and actually
Right.
observe a little contentment with, wow, that feels good that I've done
Yeah.
this thing. So,
Yeah. For me, being content is just like an undercurrent of no matter what the circumstances are I'm in. If
yeah,
it's like I have this contentment with life and we have some bad days or whatever, like I still have this foundation of, but I like what I do. I love my
yeah,
family. I love where I'm at. It's just like this sort of like recentering thing for me. That's how I look at being content,
nice.
you know?
Yeah.
So how about you?
So we had this very non-mundane trip this last week. So I mean, sure, there are some mundane things that happen when you go on a, week-long mountain biking and
Right.
camping trip. And sometimes I think camping in itself is a fairly mundane kind of activity. But
Mm-hmm.
I had one experience that just was like, I don't even know if it's very mundane because it was actually a pretty spectacular sight. But we were at our campsite on day one of riding the White Rim. And so it had been a very long day of riding. We got to our campsite, which was just in this, the whole thing is like desert and rocks. And then you drop down into this canyon by the Green River. And so all of a sudden you see green and you haven't seen green for 60 miles. So there's trees and there's, foliage, and the river is this green hue to it. And then you have these like huge red cliffs, that are surrounding you. It was just beautiful. And the full moon had actually happened the night before.
Mm,
So the moon we had that night was just one day past the full moon, but it still looks full. Um, so we were camping with our group, and this couple in our group had these two little kids, a 5 and a 7-year-old. And Matt busts out the binoculars as soon as we could see the full moon, and we're all
mm,
just looking at it, which, I mean, it really is incredible through the binoculars. Like you can
yeah,
see the craters in the moon and the textures, and it's just super cool.
that's awesome.
So we're trying to get the 5-year-old to come over and look through the binoculars and see the moon. Well, you have to line them up just right, and then you have to push the stabilizer button so you can actually, so it's not shaking around everywhere,
Mm,
right? And so this little girl comes over, and Matt's trying to help her line up the binoculars. So he's really cute, and he's kind of down there with her, and he's like, "Can you see it? Can you see it?" And she's just kind of like, she has this look on her face like, "Y'all are crazy." And she looks up at her mom and she goes, "It's right there." And like points at it, not looking in the binoculars. It's right there. And we're all kind of laughing, and we're like, yes, we know it's right there. But if you look through this hole, it's really big and it's cool. And so
mm,
Matt keeps trying, he keeps trying. And finally, I can kind of see where her eye is up against the little viewer on the binoculars. I can see the light come through from the moon on her
mm,
eye. So I know it's lined up. And I'm
mm,
like, push the button, push the button. And it lines up, and you can see her face change. And
mm.
she suddenly goes, "Oh, it's right there." She was so excited.
That's
And
awesome.
you could just hear in her voice, she was like, "It's right there." Like all of a sudden, it's not just right there, everybody. Duh.
Right.
It's like, whoa,
Right
okay, she
there.
gets it.
That's
And it
awesome.
was just super cool to observe that
Yeah.
moment where she suddenly sees the world around her in just
Hmm.
such a different way. Um,
That's
it
awesome.
was really fun for the adults too. We were just like
I
loving it
bet.
because the whole, it took a little time to just like patiently line up those binoculars for this little person.
Hmm.
And then she saw it and was just like, whoa. So that was my
Nice.
meaning of the day. It was
That's
fun.
awesome. What a fun moment.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So I think that's a
yeah,
wrap.
let's wrap her up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let us know if you guys have some good recipes or ideas to share. We'd love to hear them, or anything.
Hmm.
Got topic requests or
Hmm.
feedback for us? You can email us at middleish@gmail.com.
Hmm.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. We always really, really appreciate it.
All
So,
right.
y'all have
Have
a
a
good
good
week.
one.